The Dallas Stars season isn't over just yet as they win a dramatic overtime Game 4 against the Vegas Golden Knights. And on today's episode, we'll be talking about how the Stars pulled it off. Joe Pavelski and Jason Robertson were the heroes. And to close out the episode, we'll talk about whether or not the comeback is truly on, or if this was a one-time thing for the Stars. All of this and more coming up on today's episode of the Locked On Stars podcast.
Your Locked On Stars, your daily podcast on the Dallas Stars. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Howdy, Stars fans. Welcome back to the Locked On Stars podcast, the only daily podcast covering the Dallas Stars. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Dane Lewis, your local expert on all things Dallas Stars hockey, coming to you on this Friday, May 26th. And today's episode is brought to you by Bird Dogs. Go to birddogs.com/LockedOnNHL. And when you enter our promo code LockedOnNHL, they'll throw in a free custom Bird Dogs Yeti-style tumbler with every order. And whether this is your first time here or you are a recurring listener, thank you for stopping by and for making the Locked On Stars podcast your first listen every single day. Be sure to subscribe to the show if you're watching on YouTube. Follow us on your favorite podcasting platform of choice. We're always free and available no matter where or how you choose to listen. And for those of you watching on YouTube, I hope you enjoy the new setup that we have here, the new graphics that we have here on display, adding a little bit more to the visual side of the show. But of course, plenty to talk about on today's episode as the Stars season lives to see another day. We will get Game 5 on Saturday in Las Vegas. The Dallas Stars continue on, and I am here eating my words. After Game 3, I pretty much assumed the season was over and that the series would end in 4 games, similar to what we saw happen in the Panthers and Hurricanes series, but the Stars able to last at least 1 game longer than the Carolina Hurricanes after getting swept by the Florida Panthers. And what an effort from the Dallas Stars, mainly from 2 of their key players, and Jason Robertson, who we will talk about a little bit later on, and Joe Pavelski, who gets credited with the overtime game winner. Just an incredible sequence to keep the puck in play after the Stars had gotten a pretty good chance with Rope Hintz down around the crease. And then he sticks with the puck, is able to get it back out to Miro Heiskanen, who feeds Joe Pavelski for a one-timer. He has 9 goals on the postseason, his first of the series. And of course, on the power play, where the Dallas Stars went 2 for 2 on the evening, absolutely monumental to execute on the few power play opportunities that you got, just with how disciplined Vegas plays. And even the defense is still so incredible, whether it's 5-on-5 or 4-on-4. So huge for the Stars to execute on the man advantage the both times they got the opportunity in the game, but especially late. If you're going to get that overtime power play, you have to execute and end the game there. And Joe Pavelski made sure that that happened for his team. And of course, it had to be Pavelski, it feels like, the guy who is arguably the hungriest player on the roster in terms of wanting to win the Stanley Cup. Of course, everyone on the team would like to do so. Only one player on the team, and Tyler Seguin, has won before. But we all know Pavelski's history with getting so close with the San Jose Sharks back in 2016 with Pete DeBoer as the head coach. And he's been in the league for so long, one of the most likable players in the NHL. I know so many people, not just that, follow the Dallas Stars organization, but even outside of the Dallas Stars world and the hockey community, want to see Joe Pavelski succeed and eventually capture that cup that has eluded him for the entirety of his career. So it's awesome to get to see him score the game winner in a do-or-die Game 4 and helping send the Stars back to Las Vegas for Game 5. I mean, that is the leadership that you expect from Joe Pavelski when one of your leaders in Jamie Benn is not out there on the ice. Absolutely monumental for Joe Pavelski to step up in the way that he did, and to see the team celebrate the goal with him was awesome. To see the building go crazy when he scored that goal, an incredible moment. Regardless of what comes next in this series, we can remember that the Dallas Stars didn't give in. They didn't roll over in Game 4, and a huge part of that had to do with the effort and the heart of Joe Pavelski, who I know no one is wearing the C out there while Jamie Benn is suspended, but you want to talk about a quote unquote makeshift captain. I feel like he would fit that role quite well, given that he has been a captain in this league before, and the team hasn't quit quite yet. And that's a great sign to see. Again, I'm not saying that the Carolina Hurricanes rolled over and quit. I don't think that's the case at all, but they weren't able to get a win in the win column against the Florida Panthers, and the Dallas Stars able to do so against the Vegas Golden Knights. They haven't completely washed it out yet, but it is a step in the right direction from helping everyone forget the tragedy that was Game 3 in so many respects. So encouraging sign of life for the Dallas Stars to show that they continue to have a pulse and continue to say that anything is possible here in this series. Still very, very improbable are the odds stacked against them to come back and win this series. But I mean, you can't make history until you take that first step and get that first win. So incredibly promising to see, incredible effort from the Stars all throughout the game, but especially on that power play. It's the guys you expect to step up and deliver that stepped up and delivered the big goals when they were needed, and especially the game-winning goal. And you need to continue to see more of that from this team as they now head back to Vegas this weekend for Game 5, where the odds are stacked against them with not home ice advantage. The Golden Knights have been a very good home team here in the playoffs, and they've been a good team in general. They certainly were not an easy team to get by here in Game 4. They made things interesting and they made things difficult, but it's encouraging to know that the Stars can get a win over the VGK here in the playoffs. They had yet to do so after sweeping them in the regular season series. Well, from one top-line player to the other, we've talked about Joe Pavelski, but I want to talk about Jason Robertson too, as he is starting to truly take form here in the late stages and the later rounds of the Stanley Cup playoffs. And we'll talk about why that should worry the Vegas Golden Knights heading into Game 5 coming up next. Today's episode of Locked On Stars is brought to you by our friends at Bird Dogs. I look better and feel better wearing Bird Dog shorts. They sent me a few pairs. They fit incredible. They're incredibly comfortable. They have stretchy, flexible fabric that can make anybody look good. That goes for their shorts, that goes for their pants, and they're comfier than any other shorts or pants that you'll own. And you can wear them really for any occasion, whether you're exercising, going out on the town with some friends or family, or just relaxing at home. You can find a pair of Bird Dog shorts or pants that fit just right. If you're interested in getting your own pair, go to birddogs.com/lockedonnhl. And when you enter the promo code LOCKEDONNHL, they'll throw in a free custom Bird Dogs Yeti style tumbler with every order. So again, check out Bird Dogs for yourself at birddogs.com/lockedonnhl. I want to thank you again for making Locked On Stars your first listen every single day. All the everydayers out there making Locked On Stars a part of their daily routine here all season long, and especially throughout the playoffs as the Dallas Stars continue their season as they force Game 5 in Las Vegas on Saturday night. And the Vegas Golden Knights, I imagine, do still feel quite confident in their ability to win this series at some point, but you have to imagine that somewhere in the back of their minds, they're a little bit fearful of how Jason Robertson is starting to play. I know that the Minnesota Wild and especially the Seattle Kraken did a good job at times of shutting him down and really did do a pretty decent job of keeping Jason Robertson in check. Because I think both of those teams knew if Jason Robertson was playing to his normal standard, I don't think it's too far of a stretch to say that both of those series might have ended a little bit sooner than they did. 6 games against the Wild and 7 games against the Kraken. But now in this series against the Golden Knights, we've started to see Jason Robertson look a little bit more like himself with a goal in the first 2 games. Doesn't score a goal in the third game, but then here in Game 4, he truly took over for the team offensively. Both of his goals, clutch goals, huge response goals after the Golden Knights had scored. The Vegas Golden Knights score in the first period. William Karlsson gets his 8th in the playoffs. And then not too long after, or really it was quite a while after, but still in the first period, as the first period was starting to wind down, Jason Robertson scores on the Stars' first power play look of the night. Incredible hand-eye coordination. And then he scores in the second period after Jonathan Marchessault gets his 8th goal of the playoffs. That one separated by about 6 minutes. Jason Robertson again gets back on the board, gets the Stars tied back up, and never really allowed the Stars to trail for longer than they should have. Both of his goals, incredibly timely, incredibly clutch, and also I think something that the Stars should take note of, both of them pretty close to the crease. The VGK have done an excellent job all series of closing up that area around the crease, making it a lot easier for Adin Hill to get those saves from shots that are coming from far out wide. But Jason Robertson was able to infiltrate the defense and penetrate that force field that's been around Adin Hill all series long. And he was the beneficiary of getting past those defenders and was able to score both times. So maybe that's something that the team should make note of going forward throughout the rest of the series, however much longer it lasts. But Jason Robertson certainly did leave his mark on this game. He, of course, had the 2 goals, one on the power play, one at 5-on-5. He recorded 11 shots on goal in total, which is just absolutely insane. The next closest forward on the team that even got close to matching that was Freddie Olofsson, who only had 5. So still, even if Freddie Olofsson doubled his shot total, he still wouldn't have as many as Jason Robertson, who was just firing at will throughout the entirety of the game. And then if you want to add to it, even outside of the offense, he recorded 2 hits and 2 blocks, making his presence felt in all aspects of the game on both sides of the ice. He's truly started to wake up here in this series, which is an incredibly promising sign for the team, and I imagine for the fan base as well, as the Stars are looking to continue this series on. And if he continues to elevate his game and can continue to take over these games, the Dallas Stars are going to be incredibly tough to send home for the VGK. So you just know in the back of their minds that they know that Jason Robertson, the best goal scorer on the team this season, is starting to truly take form after getting out to a slow start in the postseason. And so while the Golden Knights, I'm sure, trust in their weapons and trust in their team, trust in their ability, they know that, the Stars are a much better team when Jason Robertson is firing on all cylinders like he was in Game 4. And this is what you expect from your MVP caliber player, the guy that is your Hart Trophy candidate, the guy who was leading the way in goals scored at one point early on in the season before Connor McDavid took over and basically ran away with that race. This is the Jason Robertson we were expecting to see in the playoffs, and it's better late than never that he does show up. He did show up a little bit here and there in that Minnesota series, really felt quiet in that series against Seattle, picked up some assists and had some nice passing sequences, but really wasn't the goal scorer that the Stars needed him to be. But now here, when it's mattered most against the Vegas Golden Knights, we've seen Jason Robertson take over several sequences of games, but really it felt like he took over Game 4 at home, and the crowd, the team feeding off of his energy. And so he needs to find a way to transfer that into this Game 5 in Vegas, because that is going to add a whole new dynamic to the Stars offense and make them even more difficult to stop. If you can get him playing well, Joe Pavelski, good to see him light the lamp like we talked about earlier. And of course, Rope Hintz was involved on both of their scoring plays. Jason Robertson's power play goal, Hintz picks up an assist. He also picks up an assist on Joe Pavelski's game winner. He now has 14 helpers in the playoffs, and the top line is starting to really make their presence felt here in this series. And it's critical that they continue that on as the series now looks towards the desert, and as they look to continue this series on past Game 5. And we're going to talk about it a little bit later on. If you can win Game 5, I think the confidence level rises exponentially. But a lot of that is going to have to do with the level of play and the level of execution that Jason Robertson can bring to this team. And we know that whenever he gets on tears like this, it can take a while for him to cool off. So I know for a fact that Pete DeBoer, the coaching staff, and his teammates are excited to see number 21 getting involved the way that he was. And if he can match that same effort and get close to 10 or more shots on goal again in Game 5, I think the Dallas Stars have to like their chances to come away from T-Mobile Arena with the W on Saturday. Well, we're about to close out today's episode of Locked On Stars, but before we do, I want to gauge how everyone is feeling heading into Game 5, because, of course, everyone's excited to see that the season isn't over. The Dallas Stars are guaranteed at least one more game as they head to Las Vegas for Saturday's Game 5. But is it truly time to believe that the Stars are going to pull off a comeback that the conference finals have never seen? We'll dive into that and talk about that more coming up next. Today's episode of Locked On Stars also brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. Make a fast break to FanDuel during the NBA playoffs, because right now, new customers can get a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. That's $1,000 back in bonus bets if your first bet doesn't win. There's no better place to bet the playoff action than America's #1 sportsbook, FanDuel. Just visit fanduel.com/lockedon and get a no sweat first bet up to $1,000. That's fanduel.com/lockedon. FanDuel is an official sports betting partner of the NBA and the Locked On Stars podcast. The Dallas Stars had their backs against the wall heading into game 4, and they do find a way to get the win. The series will go on for at least one more game, and the Stars, have to feel good about avoiding the sweep. It's been kind of a theme across the big time spring sports. The NBA, there was a sweep in the Western Conference Finals, the Nuggets sweeping the Lakers, and the Eastern Conference Finals in the NHL, we saw a sweep, the Florida Panthers sweeping away the Carolina Hurricanes, and the Dallas Stars have been able to avoid the sweep. But now it's time for the team to take that next step and prove that this Game 4 win wasn't just a fluke. And so I know a lot of people know that I was very vocal yesterday saying that I don't really, have a hunch that the Stars are going to pull off this comeback. And let me be clear that, one, I'm hoping to be wrong. Would love nothing more than the Stars to make history and be the first team ever in the NHL's history in the conference finals to overcome the 3-0 deficit. And I think more of my skepticism has more to do with the fact that I don't envision the Vegas Golden Knights losing 4 games in a row. I'm confident that the Dallas Stars can win these games, but also the Vegas Golden Knights are an incredibly disciplined team. They only lost 4 consecutive games once during the regular season, and all of those games were on the road at Arizona, at New Jersey, at New York, both New York teams actually, the Rangers one night and then the Islanders the following night. So it's not necessarily something that history, at least this season, has shown us a lot of, the Vegas Golden Knights losing consecutive games, let alone 4 consecutive games. I think that's more where my skepticism lies rather than the Stars themselves, because the Vegas Golden Knights have shown that they're not going to make a ton of mistakes, but they can pounce on teams if they make mistakes. And the Stars have made their fair share of mistakes. It's all about eliminating those and not giving the Golden Knights those easy open looks or giving them those clean opportunities around the net like we've seen throughout the entirety of this series. And the Stars have to learn to get out of their own way and to stop being their own worst enemy, which they did a pretty decent job of for the most part in Game 4. So for those of you concerned that I don't want to see the Stars win or don't want to see the Stars succeed, that's certainly not the case. But again, the Vegas Golden Knights, an incredibly well-coached team by Bruce Cassidy, a disciplined team, and they play a very precise style and brand of hockey. I just don't envision them losing 4 games. However, if the Dallas Stars can find a way to get this win here in Game 5 and get the series back to Dallas for Game 6, I'm 100% fully bought back in to the comeback and believe that anything can happen. But really, you have to go out and prove it here in Game 5. You can't just get this win in Game 4 and then come out and make the same mistakes. You have to, again, learn from the mistakes made in the previous games in the series, but then also take a look at what you did well. You got Jason Robertson in close by the crease and were able to expose Adin Hill and get some goals by him. Take note of that. Make that work in Game 5. And then if you get Game 6, make that work in Game 6. Don't just take steps back like we've seen the Stars do throughout not the entirety of the playoffs, but they get that big win in Game 2 against the Minnesota Wild, but they score 7 goals. They don't allow too many goals, but then Game 3 they come out flat and they don't look like themselves. They can't afford to do that here, because if they do that here, their season's over. And so it's all about stringing together those solid performances and making the most out of your opportunity when the opportunity is presented to you. And hopefully you continue to get good Jake Ottinger play. He looked more like himself on Thursday night, saving 37 of 39 shots. And the team in general just seemed to have a little bit more of a spark, a little bit more energy and boost in their step, especially with contributions from guys like Freddie Olofsson, who made his Stanley Cup playoffs debut. Again, recorded 5 shots on goal, and I thought played with a ton of energy, providing a little bit of juice to that Dallas Stars lineup. And I imagine with Jamie Benn suspended for Game 5 and Evgeny Dodonov likely not coming back, I know that he didn't play in Game 4. There's some sort of injury there. Wouldn't surprise me to see him back in the lineup on Saturday. And I thought that he brought a nice energy to the team throughout the regular season, and it seems to be benefiting the team here in the playoffs as well. So it's obviously a huge game on Saturday. Again, the season is riding on this game. Win and you continue on, lose, and the season does come to an end. But again, the team can't make history without winning that first game. They've done that. And now it's just a matter of proving that it wasn't just a fluke and that you can get consecutive wins against the Vegas Golden Knights, because then, you've proven now that you can win at home. Now you have to prove that you can win in Vegas. Then you'll get that last home game. And if you can force that game 6 and you get that final game at the American Airlines Center, truly anything can happen. And you start to gain more confidence. You'll get Jamie Benn back as well if you can force game 6. And who knows the extent of Evgeny Dodonov's injury. If you can prolong the series long enough, maybe you'll get him back in the lineup too. And you'll get a little bit more of a complete team heading forward. But massive, massive game coming up on Saturday as the Stars look to prolong their season a little bit longer and force game 6 back in Dallas. But that is going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Stars. Thank you so much again for tuning in and making us your first listen every single day. Remember to subscribe to the show on YouTube. Follow us on your favorite podcasting platform of choice. We're always free and available no matter where or how you choose to listen. And I imagine that we will have something out on Saturday night after the game, whether it's a full episode or just an instant reaction clip, something reacting to what we see during Game 5 on Saturday night. But I hope you guys do enjoy your weekend. Enjoy Game 5. Take care of yourselves. And we will see you right back here on Saturday.